Hey y'all, Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. Alrighty, I'm out here in the place that we've talked about before. Now we're not going to be talking about the terraces and all those things. We kind of covered that before. We'll get back into it in the future when it's more relevant, when it makes sense. No, we're going to talk today about all those little projects out there as a homesteader, because I know we have so many people getting into this space. And you might have the false impression that the majority of our time is spent doing certain projects. Got news for you folks, that's really not the lion's share of it. Probably 70 to 100% of what we do out here is either maintenance or opening things up. It's really mundane tasks. A lot of them are very mundane tasks that a lot of people I don't think cover in greater detail. Now, Michelle just let out the dog, so we're having to abruptly move. So it's those tasks that take a majority of your time. So if you're not into mundane tasks, or you can't format your brain to recognize that, hey, this is the majority of what I'm doing. If you think it's all the cool, awesome projects that you see in a lot of these channels, folks, that's really not it. And in fact, any responsible homesteader will tell you that the overwhelming majority of what they do is not filmed, and frankly, it wouldn't even be interesting to watch. Now, are there channels out there where you're watching a guy work on his truck or clean up a junk pile? Yeah, but by and large, it's not what we do. So I want to make sure that we cover that, because frankly, we don't do enough of it. We go out here and show you, hey, here's the project we're doing up here. Here's the project we're doing down here. And we leave out all these little things that are, I would say, not just as important, but probably almost certainly more important, because you don't see what we do every day when we move these animals. That's the first thing we do every day. In fact, it's the highlight of my day typically, because nothing gives me the kind of joy as seeing animals on new pasture. But the rest of the day is by and large dealing with what I'm going to talk about today, what we're going to show you today. Okay, we talked about it the other day in terms of stacking functions and all those types of things. We talked about this rotten wood that Justin from Metcalf Mills pulled up out of this little ravine that we have right here, and he stacked it up right here in an awesome way. You might want to go back and check that video out, because if nothing else, it's cool to watch. Also, all this Chinese silvergrass that was it was extracted all throughout here. He used the little pinchers on his bucket, pulled it up, and he piled it up right here for us. Now, we were a little bit concerned about how this stuff might compost, what problems it may cause. Now, we do know that it will compost, just like most things will. You will compost if you left you there long enough. But what we're finding out, because we have that chicken tractor on steroids that's dedicated primarily to layers, that we could take this stuff, and we're going to do it here in a minute. I'm basically spending a chainsaw blade going down in here, chopping this stuff up. There's a fair amount of dirt in here. There's a few rocks that it's hit, but I basically have an old blade on there, chainsaw blade, that I can get down through with it. It's going to take a lot of cleaning out, but hey, we could take this stuff, put it in these trash bags. Every time we go down the hill for whatever, that's what we're going to do. We're going to drop a trash bag full of this Chinese silvergrass and some of this, whatever rubbish is in there. And believe me, we're running into a lot of it. Now, on this end of things, we got all this wood, all this rotten wood. It's not sufficient to burn. It doesn't make sense doing any of that with it. But you got to ask yourself, from a permaculture point of view, would it make sense to do something else with it? Now, there are a ton of creative people out there that I'm sure probably in the comments below would tell us all the wonderful things you can do with it. And there are numerous things you can do with this rotten wood. So what we're going to do in this mountainous terrain out here, we're going to chop this stuff up, and we're going to put it in one of the very few flat spots on this acreage that it can be used to do a hugelkultur mound. Okay, that's going to be a thing that unfolds over a period of time, because like every other thing that happens around here, it's not just one thing that you can just say, okay, we're going to put up an earth chip over here. Well, there's a lot of other moving parts that have to happen before you even get to that. Construction 101. So what we're going to do is chop this stuff up. We're going to pile it up down in the area where we're going to put a hugelkultur mound. And that whole area where the food forest is, by the bottom of it, there's more of a flat spot where we could do that sort of thing, not have a heavy rain, and then create a landslide that kills somebody. Because at the end of the day, all this means nothing if somebody gets hurt. So So we're gonna take this stuff, put it in one of the flatter areas, and then the cool thing about that, when it unfolds, we're gonna show you how you can stack so many awesome functions in doing one little project, but we'll get to that in the future. Maybe today this video will expand some of you out there who are considering this lifestyle of all the things you can do with some of this unwanted material. You can compost it, you can even burn it if you need to, if it's that much of a pest. In this case, we're gonna make more fertility out of it, and we're gonna show you how we get it done. So with that said, it's time to go ahead and get that chainsaw and destroy this blade, getting through this pile right over here. Now you can't just take this stuff and leave it long, because I'm telling you what, some of these are 8 feet long. And unless you want a real problem turning your compost pile, you're gonna wanna break this stuff up. Now you may not be dealing with Chinese silvergrass, but whatever the case may be, you want it in bite-sized chunks. Seeing a lot of little creepy crawlies down through there, but hey, that's part of it. All right, so here we are, next day, and we got some of the trash bags filled with that Chinese silvergrass. Now, these gals are in here waiting for their meal, but this ain't exactly it. Now, anybody that's new to here, you want to go back and watch that chicken tractor on steroids system. Reason being is that every single day we feed them out here, we'll put their food scraps on top of it. They poop on it, they do all the things chickens do, they scratch through it, and then we cover it up the following day with what you see here, some source of carbon, which in this case is that Chinese silvergrass. Now as I go through it, I usually kind of stomp it down, because when I fill this cage to the very brim, it's going to be the equivalent of 1.5 cubic yards. You want at least 1 cubic yard. But I'm going to try to kick this one up a little bit more. But folks, the bigger point here that I'm trying to make is this is kind of what most of your day looks like as a farmer, as a permaculture designer, as a homesteader, depending on the kind of homesteader you are, you know. And those, frankly, folks, right on cue, there he is, Persimmon Phil. This is what you do most of your day. And
you said that 5 times.
Well, he's messing me up. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this in here. And then folks, if you got enough time left over, which honestly, if you zone things the way they should be and put things in the right place, you usually have time, sometimes, depending on if it's harvest, like right now, your time is limited, but you have time to get ahead on future projects, and we're going to show you what some of that is in a minute. So, here we are, taking all this stuff that people would scratch their heads about what to do with, putting it in a place here that is going to be a fantastic use for it, and you know, making real good use of it. It will become soil in a long, long time. Maybe my great-great-grandkids will enjoy that someday. But folks, the moral to the story, the moral of this entire thing is, hey, these mundane tasks are the majority of what you do when you engage in this lifestyle. I don't think it's covered enough, and certainly we don't cover it enough, but for anybody considering this lifestyle, and we know there are tons of you that reach out to us, this is the lion's share of what you do. It's not necessarily the videos you see, because by and large, nobody wants to see mundane tasks. But this is one of them, and this is also a way of stacking functions. We're putting a whole lot into this video, y'all. So hopefully you get something useful out of it. Okay, y'all. Till next time, remember, subscribe, tell your friends about us, hit that notification bell. This is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, the permaculture pimp daddy, where pimp stands for permaculture is my passion. We'll see y'all next time.